Today, I'm going to show you how to make this creamy, rich, and velvety soup. It's made with 40 cloves of garlic that have been slow cooked in olive oil until jammy and caramelized. It's also served with garlicky croutons and a drizzle of garlic confit olive oil. Vampires, beware of this one. It's my creamy garlic and potato soup. First and foremost, you need garlic and a whole lot of it, 4 bulbs or 40 large cloves to be exact. This purple haze on the garlic skin tells me the garlic I'm using today is not local Australian garlic but is imported from South America. It has quite large cloves that make the peeling process a lot easier than when I'm working with the smaller cloves that come with Australian garlic. I also like to peel it myself than buying pre-peeled garlic as I find the taste and texture is much nicer. But if you are short on time, there is no harm in using pre-peeled garlic that you tend to find at the Asian grocer in vacuum sealed packs. To get started, I like to remove the outer layer of skin and then break the cloves away from the bulb. This can easily be done with your hands by finding a small opening in between the garlic cloves and pulling it away from the bulb. Don't discard of those garlic skins, as I'll talk you through in a minute why I like to keep them. Once finished, grab a heat-proof bowl and pop the garlic cloves into the bowl. We are then going to boil some water and fully submerge the garlic cloves in it. Let them sit for roughly 5 minutes. This step allows the garlic skin to soften and easily break away from the garlic clove. It's my little trick on how to easily peel a large amount of garlic. The boiling hot water does not heavily impact with the taste or texture of the garlic, but if you are concerned about this, you can replace it with cold water and leave the garlic to sit in it for an hour. Alternatively, you could place the garlic cloves into a jar, pop the lid on, and vigorously shake them until the garlic skins become loose. But this is my least favorite way as it requires quite the arm workout. Once you have left the garlic to soak for 5 minutes, you can either drain the water from the bowl or do what I'm doing here and just carefully and quickly pick them out of the water. I like to do it this way so the garlic that I get to last sits in the water for a little longer, allowing those skins to become as loose as possible. I'm also using a sharp knife to remove the top woody part of the garlic, as this part doesn't soften when cooked and isn't very pleasant to eat. If your garlic is a little older, you may find a little green stem running through the middle. This just means your garlic has sprouted and will have a more pungent and bitter taste. While not necessary, I do recommend removing it. Once you have peeled all that garlic, set it to the side. Grab a Ziploc bag and store the garlic skins in it, as you can use them to either make a garlic powder or to flavour a homemade stock. I keep mine in the freezer for up to 4 months. Now onto the fun part. We are going to slow cook the garlic or confit it in lots of olive oil. To confit something means to slow cook it in lots of fat, and when we do this with garlic, it becomes soft and caramelized and has a far less bitter and almost sweet taste, which is why you'll see me double if not triple the amount of garlic when I'm using garlic confit in my recipes. Place the garlic cloves into an oven-proof dish. For this recipe, I'm using some fresh thyme sprigs to further flavour the oil, but you could simply omit them or replace them with any aromatic or herbs such as rosemary, chili, black peppercorns, or lemon zest. I'm also using a touch of sea salt. Fully submerge the garlic in extra virgin olive oil. It's important they are fully submerged, because if they aren't, they could potentially burn and not result in that soft texture that we're looking for. Pop them in the oven, covered or uncovered, it really does not matter. I just like to cover mine to show off my cute little dishes, and bake at 130 degrees Celsius or 265 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 to 2 hours, or until they are super soft and have a slight brown color to them. The key here is to cook them low and slow. Now, a lot of you asked why I did this next step in the comments when I shared the short of the recipe, and it's because we aren't using all of the oil in the soup. I like to make a large batch of garlic-infused olive oil, as it can be used in any recipe that calls for olive oil. It will have a beautiful garlic-infused flavour and elevate any dish. Separate the oil from the garlic and set both to the side. We need 4 large potatoes that weigh roughly 1 kilo or 2.2 pounds. I like to peel my potatoes for this recipe, as the potato skins can slightly alter the texture of the soup. However, it's not necessary and does come down to personal preference. I'm using a vegetable peeler to remove the skins. Once the potatoes are peeled, set the skins to the side and discard of them, or fry them in olive oil to make some delicious potato skin chips. Cut the peeled potato in half lengthways. Repeat this on the halved potato and then cut into small chunks that are 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches wide. By cutting them quite small, the potatoes will require a little less cooking time in the soup. Repeat this with all of the potatoes and then pop them in a bowl and set to the side while you prep the remaining ingredients. We also need 1 brown onion for this recipe. Cut in half lengthways and then cut the tip off, as this will help us remove the skin by creating an opening to get your finger under. Remove the skin from the onion and then finely dice it. I do this by cutting as many vertical slices as I can while keeping the root intact, as this holds the onion layers together. Follow this by cutting 3 horizontal slices and then slicing downwards as you move your knife closer to the root. You will be left with small dices of onion. Repeat this with the second half of the onion and then place into a bowl and set to the side. Grab that Ziploc bag of garlic skins and pop the onion skins in there, as they also add beautiful flavour and colour to a homemade stock. Now onto the soup. Grab a large Dutch oven or pot and turn the heat to medium. Drizzle 2 tablespoons of that garlic confit olive oil into the pot and add the onions. Cook for 5 minutes or until fragrant and translucent. Keep stirring here so the onions do not burn. Add all of the garlic, yes, all 40 cloves of it, to the pot and cook with the onion. This is the part where a regular recipe would tell you to add 2 or even 4 cloves of raw garlic, but I'm using garlic confit. And as I said before, the taste is very mild compared to raw garlic and is almost sweet. It also assists with the beautiful velvet texture of the soup. Add the potatoes to the pot and toss them through the garlic and onion for a minute or 2. We want to coat them in those beautiful garlicky flavours that are going on in this pot. Add 800 milliliters or 3.5 cups of chicken or vegetable stock to the pot. I'm using a store-bought stock here, but you could use my homemade stock recipe that utilizes all those garlic and onion skins. I'm due to make another batch, so didn't have any stored up in my freezer this time. Season with a generous amount of salt and pepper and then bring to a boil, which took its sweet ass time to do so. Once boiling, reduce the heat to low and leave it at a gentle simmer for 30 minutes. We want all those flavors to beautifully combine, the stock to reduce and the potatoes to be fork tender. Do this with the lid off, but if your soup is becoming too thick, simply pop the lid on. You should be able to easily break the potato apart with a fork. To blend it all up, you can either use an immersion blender like I did in the short video, or a blender. I wanted to use a blender so you could more clearly see how easily it all blends together, but I annoyingly didn't put my camera in focus, so that was a bit of a bust. If using a blender, very carefully transfer the hot soup to it. Blend on high until very smooth. Place the soup back into the pot and stir through 1 cup of cream. You will see the soup has a silky and creamy texture, so the cream is only optional for those that like their soup extra creamy. The cream also thins out the soup, so if you are not using it, just add a little extra stock in this step. Give it a little taste and season with a little more salt and pepper if needed. Now for those garlicky croutons, which I like to make while my soup is simmering. You're going to need some stale bread for these. This bread I have here is a few days old, but it is at the perfect consistency for making croutons or breadcrumbs with. The more stale, the crispier your croutons will be, and they will also hold their shape while baking. Notice just how rock hard this bread is. Slice it up with a sharp serrated knife and then tear it apart with your hands. This will create as much surface area as possible around the edges of the bread, which will result in beautiful crispy edges. Tear them to a size of your liking. Repeat this with the remaining bread. Once you have teared up all your bread into your preferred crouton shapes, line a baking tray with baking paper. Scrunch up the baking paper, as this makes it easy for it to rest onto a flat surface. Place the bread onto the baking tray and then drizzle with 1 to 2 tablespoons of the garlic confit olive oil and season with a little salt. Toss the bread with your hands and give it a little massage to ensure they are all coated with the salt and olive oil. Because we are using extra stale bread here, they will hold their shape and not break apart. If your bread isn't as stale, do the step quite gently. Bake in the oven for 20 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius or 390 degrees Fahrenheit. They will come out golden from the olive oil and crispy from those roughed up edges. Everything is almost prepped for our soup and it's almost time to eat it. For a little freshness throughout the soup, I like to add some finely diced parsley as a garnish at the end. This is optional, but something I highly recommend. Grab a large bowl and begin to plate up the soup. Top with those garlicky croutons, garnish with some fresh parsley and drizzle with some of that remaining garlic confit olive oil that I consider liquid gold. Find the full recipe at daneskitchen.com and don't forget to follow and subscribe for more modern Mediterranean recipes that are targeted towards the garlic and olive oil lover. Let me know if you make this one at home. I love to read your feedback in the comments. Thanks for watching and I will hopefully catch you next week.